Hello there, and thank you for joining me. My name is Karen Del Maestro, and I am your host for today's video. And today we're talking about 4 key ways for you to reclaim your energy, especially after breast cancer. Are you ready for that? Who wants more energy? Yes, please. Yes, please. So who am I? Well, I'm known by many as the go-to expert for helping women bounce back after breast cancer treatment. So I want you to know you're in good hands. That's not a title that you just get given. Unfortunately, you do have to earn it. And I earned that title of the go-to person for bouncing back by bouncing back myself after many major traumas. Okay. I'm not going to go into that for you today because I want to focus on you. I want to focus on what you need, which is more energy, right? And today I'm going to be sharing the 4 key areas that you need to focus on if you want to get your energy back. Do you have to do all of them? No, but here's the thing, right? Focus on progress, not perfection. We all have to start somewhere. And by changing just one thing, you'll be amazed at how that one thing elevates your energy levels, right? When you've done that, focus on the next, and then the next, and the next. But as you go through this video, you will start to have an awareness that maybe you didn't have before. That's helpful too, because you'll just start adding these little things in as you go. So why is this even important, right? I love to always talk about the why, because I think when we know why, it gives us like a bit of background information, right? It's like the plot of the story, the plot of the movie. And when you know that plot, then you're much more invested, right? So it helps. So why is this important? Well, what I found through my own breast cancer journey, and I'm wondering if you're feeling the same way, and like the hundreds of women that I've spoken to, we all have a very similar path, right? We were in treatment, running, going to the next doctor, the next treatment, the next surgery, the next chemo, the next radiation, lab results, the waiting, the worst, right? And we've been going. And then after treatment, we kind of think that we're just going to bounce right back. I don't have a magic wand, and I wish I did. Because I want that for you. But we don't just bounce back. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes what I like to call grace and space for ourselves, right? Learning some self-compassion. But we do bounce back. Now, one of the key things that I have learned in my 2 decades of education in health and wellness is the impact that inflammation has on our body. Now, inflammation can cause brain fog, massive fatigue, bone and muscle and joint aches, mood swings, hot flashes, bloating. The list goes on and on. But did you kind of have an aha moment and think, well, those are kind of like the things that you might be feeling right now? I know they were things that I felt. So I got to thinking, after I'd gone through the confusion and the scared and the uncertainty of no longer being in treatment, after I had literally broken down in my doctor's office and said, I'm not ready to break up with you yet, gone through crying at the drop of a hat, just this whole ton of emotions and feelings, physical and mental, that I just was not prepared for. And you may be feeling the same way. And what I learned is that the next stage of recovery actually starts after treatment has ended. So that's where you are right now. That's why you're feeling all of these things. You stepped off that go from treatment. And now it's like, well, what now? What am I supposed to do now? So if that sounds like you, I want to welcome you. I want you to know that you're absolutely in the right place. And I want you to know that I've got you. I'm going to give you the path of what now. I'm going to give you the path of what next. to get back your energy, to feel like you're on the path to getting your life back, right? Because our energy affects everything. If you found that, I know it does for me, right? If I don't have the energy, then I'm snapping at people and I'm moody and I'm like, I just want to go to bed and put the covers over my head. Say, leave me alone. But we don't often get the chance to do that. And if we do, then we feel guilty, right? I know. So let's dive in and talk about these 4 key areas that you can actually start to reclaim your energy, right? So the first one I like to talk about is food. Yes, food. Number 1, because it's the question I'm asked most, right? Karen, what on earth am I supposed to eat now that I'm done? Do I have to be vegan or vegetarian, right? And my answer is no, you don't. I do agree that a plant-forward diet is really important, but I've also seen over the past couple of decades that not everybody thrives with a vegan or vegetarian diet. And I also, in case you didn't know, hate diets. I don't like the word. I don't like the thought process. I don't like the mentality of all or nothing. I don't think it works. And in fact, there's a staggering statistic that 98% of women who go on a diet lose weight, gain it back and more within 2 years. Think about that. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound like you? Let me say it again. 98% of women on a diet will lose weight, gain that weight back and more within a 2-year period. To me, that says diets don't work, right? So I want you to heave a huge sigh of relief and say, if they don't work, maybe I never have to go on a diet again. How would that feel? Amazing, right? Never live in that place of deprivation. Never live with that feeling of, oh my God, I can't do it. Get rid of the beating yourself up for failing and not being good enough and being so hard on yourself. And I know that's what you're doing because I've seen it over and over and over with the women I've worked with. It does not work. So today, I'd like to take you to a kinder place. I'd like to take you to a place where 80% of the time, you're eating the right kind of foods, anti-inflammatory foods, foods that are reducing inflammation in your body, giving you energy, getting rid of the brain fog and the bloat and the hot flashes. I would say minimizing, not getting rid of, right? But definitely minimizing makes such a huge difference. I know because I've done it. I know because I've seen the women that I've guided do the same thing. Makes all the difference in the world. So as we reduce that inflammation, and we're going to be reducing inflammation with all of these 4 key factors that I'm talking about today, right? That's my overarching approach to everything, is to reduce inflammation. And if you want to learn more about that, this is what I teach in my program, Essentials for Thriving. Okay, I'll leave you a link at the bottom if you want to learn more about that program. It's just a self-paced program. You do it on your own, but it gives you this really strong foundation of anti-inflammatory habits, which to me is the key factor that makes all the difference. So we're talking about anti-inflammatory foods, right? Those are the foods that are going to help give us more energy. Yes, sign me up. So what are they, Karen? I hear you. So these anti-inflammatory foods, and I'm going to give you a really broad picture here. In the program, you actually get very specific guidelines and even recipes and meal plans and things like that. But think of it this way. Anti-inflammatory foods are foods, real food, right? Fruits and veggies, meats, fishes, a little bit of dairy, not a lot, little bit, all of the right kind. There's such a spectrum in here. It's not all of those, but it's a spectrum. And real food. So if you make the switch just to more real food, you're making a step in the direction, right? There's always layers. Don't think that you have to go from A to Z, right? This is where we're kind of setting ourselves up to fail when we try to do that, when we try to change everything, right? That's the diet mentality. It doesn't work. Remember, we talked about that statistic. So what I like to focus on is understanding that, yes, this is the end goal. I get it. But how about we go from A to B? Let's take a step towards it. And that's what eating the right foods will do. Eating real food as opposed to processed food, as opposed to, we want to minimize like the frozen meals, takeout, things that we're buying, ready meals that we're buying boxed and things like that, because they've all been processed. And what happens during that process, they've all got preservatives and chemicals added that our body doesn't know what to do with. And it's our body's trying to figure out, oh, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? Guess what? Does it make sense? It's using more energy. Yeah. As opposed to real food that the body recognizes, knows what to do with it. And we get nourishment versus fatigue. Hope that makes sense. So that's what we're striving for. Again, I go into that more in Essentials for Thriving, my program. So that's number one, the right foods, anti-inflammatory foods. Number two, we want to make sure that we're managing our stress. Now, I don't know about you, but a year before my diagnosis, I went through an incredibly massive amount of stress. And you may have even Googled, does stress cause cancer? And the answer is no, it doesn't. But hang on, okay? Because this was something I researched extensively after my own diagnosis, right? I'm a health coach. I've been in health and wellness for 20 years. I'm doing all of these things, and yet I still got breast cancer. And why did I get it? Number one, I carry the BRCA2 genetic mutation, which I did not know. So I was predisposed to it anyway. But a year before my diagnosis, I went through an inordinate amount of stress. And it's actually 12 to 48 months prior to a breast cancer diagnosis. That stress can be the catalyst for making your cancer cells grow. So for me, within a month period, I was by my mom's bedside as she passed away. She'd actually found out a week before she passed away, she had dementia. I should say we found out because I don't think she even realized. Thankfully, it was a gift. She had found out that she had liver, lung, stomach, and skull cancer a week before she passed. So that was my mom. The day after my mom's funeral, this is over in the UK, my brother went in an ambulance to the hospital and had to go through an emergency surgery where they gave him 50% chance of living. At the time, I was with my niece, who was 17 years old at the time, who had already lost her mom to breast cancer, who was now wondering, am I going to lose my dad too? And then my brother was in the hospital for a couple of weeks. I was over in the UK taking care of my niece. And 2 days after he came out of the hospital, my husband was in a really serious motorcycle accident back in the US. And we didn't know for a couple of months if they were going to be able to save his right arm. All of that happened within 1 month. And it was a year before my diagnosis. So does stress cause cancer? No, but our body's response to it certainly can. And what happens is it's the cortisol. You may have heard of cortisol. That's our stress hormone. So when we're stressed, that cortisol level is going crazy, crazy, crazy. And when one hormone is off in our bodies, all of our other hormones want to balance it all out again. They like to be balanced. And so they're fighting to make it balanced. So that's why, number one, when we're stressed or anxious, we're also tired, right? We're exhausted. You feel your body kind of slump and you just want to disappear into a hole. until things get better. I get it. I get it. I didn't get that opportunity. I went bang, 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 trauma, trauma, trauma. And it was years. So, and that's just a little highlight of the things that I have had to bounce back from. There's so much more, including the loss of my dad and my brother. So how we manage our stress becomes crucially important. And you'll find in Essentials for Thriving, I actually share something with you called my Craze to Calm plan, right? Because it's like, I don't know about you, but I like a plan. I like a roadmap. I like to know exactly what to do. And so that's what I teach you in there is my Craze to Calm plan, the plan to get you from all feeling chaotic, not knowing what to do. Remember that cortisol going crazy, 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 making you tired and increasing inflammation. Inflammation being the root cause of all serious disease. So if we're interested in lowering our risk of getting sick again, all of the things that I'm sharing with you today are crucially important, right? So we want to manage our stress in a healthy way. I know when I'm stressed, it's when I want those sour cream and onion potato chips. That's why I can't have them in the house, right? And you'll have your thing that you reach for when you're stressed too. That's okay. We're human. Okay. Like I said, I do that too. It's human nature. But again, those things, those foods, those chips, the chocolate, the ice cream, the wine, whatever it is going to increase inflammation. Those are on the inflammatory food list, right? Makes sense. So we want to be coming up with healthier coping mechanisms for our stress. Now we can't stop the stress. I wish we could. The world is stressful right now with what's going on in the Ukraine and still COVID, as I'm recording this video. The world is stressful. And so finding these ways that we can cope with stress that are healthy, things like breath work, things like going for a walk outside, making a cup of tea, an Epsom salt bath, meditation, all of these things and more. I mean, so much more, but kind of leaning into those to manage your stress versus reaching for these things that are going to increase inflammation. It's a much better course of action. Again, I share with you my entire Craze to Calm plan inside of Essentials for Thriving, my self-paced program. I'll be giving you the details for that at the end of this video. So we've talked about the right foods, right? Anti-inflammatory foods. We've talked about managing our stress. Up next, third, is reducing toxins. Now, reducing toxins is something that you may have thought of. I think generally today, many people think, okay, maybe it's something I should be looking at. Maybe it's something I should be doing, right? You might have thought like that. Or this may be entirely new to you. That's okay too, right? Here's why why this is important to us if we want more energy. And also, if we want to be lowering our risk of getting sick again. Okay, lowering that inflammation. So many of the chemicals that we use in our house, right? And the average American prior to COVID spent 70% of their time in their home. That number at this point has to be much higher. Many more of us are working from home. Many more of us are just in our homes more because we don't want to be out as much or whatever. So I have to think that that statistic is much higher at that point. And so what's going on in our home is actually really, really important. And so we want to be looking at things like our cleaning products, laundry, skincare, makeup, hair, shampoos, conditioners, soaps, body washes, bubble baths, perfume, anything, sunscreen, deodorant, anything that we're putting on our body, right? Our body is actually our largest organ. Anything that we put onto our skin is absorbed. And so many of these products, both around the home and the things we're using on our body, actually contain ingredients known to cause chronic fatigue. If I want to be getting my energy back, wouldn't it make sense that I don't want things around me that are going to make me tired? You bet it would. Of course it does. So this is an area that you may also want to explore. Again, I go dive into it, give you a complete roadmap of how to do this in your home, inside Essentials for Thriving, right? My foundational course for you to work your way through and bring all of these into focus in your home, in your life, so that you can have more energy, so that you can help to lower your risk of getting sick again. So we want to be reducing these toxins that are around us all day, right? Fragrance is a big one, anything with fragrance, right? And here's the deal with these toxins. They don't just contain ingredients that can cause chronic fatigue. Many of them contain hormone disrupting ingredients. Well, hello again, hormone receptive breast cancer. So if we're using things around our home, on our skin, that are disrupting our hormones, what does it do to our risk? Makes sense that it would increase it, right? Also increases inflammation. Okay, so we've got, just to recap, the right foods, anti-inflammatory foods, managing our stress, reducing toxins around the home, right? And the last one, the fourth one, and the one that is dearest to my heart, because this for me is the game changer. It's the game changer. It's the one that changes the way you go about living your life. And that is putting yourself first. Now, you might be saying, Karen, why is this relative to me when I want more energy? What does that matter? How does that impact it? Well, I invite you to think of this for a second, right? Think about your day. Think about all of the things that you worry about, stress about, stew about. What are they going to say? What are they going to think? What are they going to do? Thinking about how other people are going to react to certain things. Worrying about going out because you're not comfortable yet with how you feel in your skin. You know, maybe you've lost your hair after chemo and you're just feeling really self-conscious. These are not uncommon things and totally valid to be feeling them, but you don't have to. You don't have to. Okay, so think about where's your energy going throughout the day? Focusing on the kids, or maybe you've got aging parents. Your significant other is expecting you to bounce back. Come on, you're done with treatment, get back. And you've barely got the energy to pick up the pile of laundry in the corner. I remember the first day that I did laundry after my 6 surgeries in 2 years. And I remember like being like a T-Rex, right? I had a double mastectomy. And I remember being like a T-Rex. And it's like I couldn't even pick anything up. It was so painful to move, especially, you know, I didn't have that range of motion for quite some time. It took a lot of occupational therapy and physical therapy to get there. But I remember grabbing that pile of laundry the first time and putting it in to be washed. And I remember like doing a happy dance and feeling so proud of myself. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But only we get that, right? Other people around us just expect us to bounce back. And they don't know that this takes time. This takes time. This is the next stage of recovery after treatment is over. And we do not just bounce back. And there's actually an equation that I share inside of Essentials for Thriving to help you understand that. And I also talk about breast cancer triggers and all kinds of good stuff. So if we think of ourselves as a teapot, I always think that's like the Brit in me coming out there, right? I was born in the UK, moved to the US when I was 22. So if we think of ourselves as a teapot, and all of the things that we think about and all of the things that we do throughout the day for everybody else are our teacups, and we're pouring for everybody else. And our level of tea inside that teapot, which is our energy, is just going down. we get to the bottom. And you may relate to this. You're feeling depleted. You're feeling wiped out, zapped, like you're just running on fumes because you've got nothing else left to give. You're feeling pulled in a million different directions and you've just got nothing. I've been there. Have you? Right? And it's horrible. And we become bitter and angry and resentful. It's like, stop, I just want a minute for me. And then we get hard on ourselves for even thinking it and thinking it's selfish. And I'm here today to tell you it is not selfish. Putting yourself first, focusing on your self-care is necessary. It is essential if you want your energy back. It's essential if you want to help lower your risk of getting sick again. And what you may not know is there are 7 personality traits. Again, I talk about them in Essentials for Thriving. 7 personality traits common amongst people with breast cancer. One of which is that we spend our time and energy focusing on others. That we're super hardworking, conscientious, giving, caring, taking care of everybody else, people. That's me too. I stopped doing that quite some time ago, but I still call myself a recovering people pleaser because everything I used to do was to make everybody else happy. Everything. Everything. And guess what? I did it for decades and it just didn't work. Just ended up making me feel resentful. I'm doing all this work and for what? For what? Getting nothing out of it. Can you relate to that? Yeah, I mean, it's super common, super, super common. And so by doing that, you know, we could be increasing our risk of getting sick again. Remember, if we change nothing, if we keep doing what we've always done, then nothing changes. We're not lowering our risk. We're not lowering our inflammation. We're not changing our habits. We're not doing anything. And so if we choose that route, do you think that you're more likely to get sick again? I'm going to say yes. If we're not changing anything, if we're just doing what we did before we got sick, that would make sense to me. I don't want that for you. I don't want you to have to go through this disease and treatment again. Now, what you may not know is I made myself, my husband, and my children a promise. And that was to do everything in my power that I could to not get this disease again. I don't make promises lightly. But what I also did was I promised to share everything that I learned along the way with you so that you too can do what it takes to not get this disease again, to get your energy back, to start living a life greater than you could ever imagine, because there is so much more than where you were before, I guarantee you. And you've got an opportunity right now to step into that if you want to. And you can certainly continue along the same path, or you can say, hey, you know what? I think I want to look at my foods and how to manage stress. And wow, that toxin thing sounds really interesting. And I never even thought of that. And as for self-care and putting myself first, filling up my teapot constantly so that I can keep pouring for others, well, that doesn't sound so selfish, right? That actually sounds really cool to have the opportunity to be able to do that. I would say so. And I can tell you, because self-care is now my non-negotiable. And I think of self-care The way that I define self-care is that self-care is the conscious act that we take, not think about, but take to promote our physical, mental, and emotional well-being. That to me is self-care. Self-care is everything that tops up my teapot so that I can keep giving. I'm a giver. I serve women for a living, the breast cancer community. It's who I am. It's never going to change. It's my purpose. It's my mission. It's my place in this life. But to do that, if I wasn't taking care of me first, I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't have the energy. And so if you want your energy back, these are the things that you need to be focusing on. Okay, and like I said, whether it's one at a time or whether you're like, oh, I'm going for all 4, I've got you. Okay, I've got the roadmap. I've got the system. I've got the details laid out in a simple, easy peasy, step-by-step way. And you can find that inside of Essentials for Thriving, my self-paced digital course. Okay, so let's just recap. Again, the right foods, managing your stress, reducing toxins, and self-care. The 4 key things to reclaiming your energy after breast cancer or any other time, to be honest. Okay, if you have questions, please reach out to me. Again, my name is Karen Del Maestro. You can find me at Karen with an I, delmaestro.com. So it's Karin. And I know that little thing down here that's transcribing my words is going to spell it wrong. So it's Karin, delmaestro.com. Okay, or you can also find me in the Healthy Living After Breast Cancer Facebook community, where I'm hanging out all the time with our incredible pink sisters on the same path, wanting to get their energy back, wanting to live a life that they fought so hard for. So I hope to see you soon. And don't forget, Essentials for Thriving. If you are looking for a simple step-by-step guide to build this foundation of anti-inflammatory living, helping you to get your energy back, helping you to lower your risk, helping you to enjoy your life again, that's for you. Okay, I'll leave the link below for you to check it out. And until next time, bye for now.